Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Tina Swithin. I call myself the accidental author and family court advocate because no one would choose this path unless you were, put on it against your will. And no, I love what I do every day, but boy, as you all know, this is not the journey that any of us would choose for ourselves or for our little ones. It takes a toll, and just feels like there's a lot going on. I actually looked up to see, is there a full moon? Because I feel like things are a little bit extra for so many of you right now. So I love this time where we can come together and share experiences and talk through these things. I wanted to share something that I announced on the Facebook page on One Mom's Battle this week. Good morning, Melissa. So I know that there is frustration in our realm, in the DV community, that we are unfairly labeled as high conflict. I sat through a trial on Zoom this week for a mom that I know, and I think it was the judge said, no one can deny that this case is a high conflict case. And for so many of us, that's a, punch in the gut, because it truly does take one person to create one of these high conflict situations. But once you're the target of that, you don't have a choice. You were a part of it. And so, we're never going to change that. That is common terminology in the courtroom. And again, it kind of falls under the umbrella of, is it fair? No. But is it the reality of our system and the world? Yeah, we're unfairly lumped into that high conflict category. That's where radical acceptance comes into play. So I know I'm not going to be able to tackle that or to beat that. So I am doing the next best thing. I have rebranded and reformatted our judicial education program for a couple of reasons. Number one, when it's under the One Mom's Battle umbrella, I think that it could easily be chalked up to this mom's rights organization, and that immediately can turn some people off. Good morning, Gigi. Good to see you. And so, and again, to tackle the high conflict label head on, if you can't beat them, you join them. And so we have a whole new look for our educational packets, and it's called the High Conflict Education and Resources. And so the new judicial education packets you can go to, just type in the web address educateyourjudge.com, or you can type out the whole thing, which is really, really long. High conflict education and resources.com. We are going to be sending out solid research, solid data, the Santa Clara study, trying to meet them at a point and educate them that it only takes one person to create one of these situations, and that they need to lean in a little bit closer when one of these cases comes across their desk. So I'm really, really excited about the direction that we're going with those. And, one of the things I share with people when it comes to our educational packets, good morning from Iowa. Good morning, Karen from Chicago. There are going to be professionals who we just can't reach. Some of those are the ones we read about in the news when they get exposed for corruption or misconduct. There are some that their pathology is so great that I could fly a plane carrying a banner in front of their bedroom window in the morning and we're never going to reach them. Those are the lost causes, unfortunately, of the family court system. Then there are the ones who maybe they're just really calloused and tired of these cases. And I meet them there too. I have a tremendous amount of compassion, just sitting in on this trial again this week. And, I couldn't do that every day. I could not. But they signed up for it. But it is human nature that they will start becoming calloused to these issues. And that's one of the things that I point out in our letter. Karen said, are the new branded packets available to send now? Yep, they are. This week is the first week. Yesterday, actually, was the first day that we're sending the brand new material. And you can actually go online to our website. Good morning, Janelle. You can go on to that website that I gave you and actually look at everything that is sent out in the packets. Most things you can actually download and print out yourself. Yes, you can send them to attorneys. We send them to family court professionals all over the country, GALs, custody evaluators, co-parenting therapists. Good morning, Kelly from DC. I'm grateful for all of you too. I hope you're in our DC group. It's really, really little. So many of them are, and we need to grow them. We've got like the California chapter of One Mom's Battle and the Texas chapter and the Florida chapter. Those are huge chapters. They're growing. I think California is 250 people in that group. Join your state chapter or your country chapter of One Mom's Battle, and you can just go to ombchapters.com to get directly to that. It's going to give you all of the details on joining, because you all need to come together if a state law, a bill comes up where it's going to be mandated shared parenting, or I know Florida's got some things going on right now with alimony. You guys should be banding together and having a voice. One of our Texas members put together a template letter that people can use to address the 50-50 parenting bills and help to shoot those down, because those are the worst things to happen to the family court system. Kids are divided like property, and that's really, really wrong. So that's my housekeeping updates. Kelly, yes, you are the first member. Good for you. Hopefully we will get some more interest in our little DC chapter. So I'm going to jump into the questions. Today's question number 1, how do you get rid of a GAL or any bad family court professional? Boy, is that a big question. As always, if any of you have experience with that and you want to share tips or information in the comments, please do. This brings in my fine print. I am not an attorney. I cannot give legal advice. And Gigi, no, there is not a group for that. But if you want to start one and lead it, I will turn the reins over to you, because there needs to be. And I really, as I have said, I believe in you and the knowledge that you bring to these topics. And I think there is absolutely a need for what you are bringing up right now. But going back to, I can't give legal advice. I can share my own experience. I can share what I see other people going through, because I talk to a lot of people who are stuck in the trenches of these situations. And so that's what we do. So getting rid of a bad family court professional is really, really difficult to do. And it needs to be played very carefully. usually through your attorney. Once they're on your case, it's really difficult, as I said, to get rid of them. But if they are appointed, that's okay. Here's another example of why coming together with the OMB chapters is so important, because when all of you start talking and saying, oh my gosh, I had this GAL, they made the same orders, completely different circumstances, but this is a pattern of them making these orders. I learned a new phrase this week through the trial I sat in on, which is confirmatory bias, where somebody's own agenda is their bias, and they try to fit everybody, every family, or every situation into alienation is the topic that was really big in this trial. And so, for example, this family court professional was really trying, she had an agenda going into it. She was trying to mold and form this family and her recommendations into her bias, because she makes a lot of money off of this junk science industry. And so, that is also called bias confirmation. Yes, I am like, it's my new word for the week, my new phrase for the week, because it is so prevalent in this system. And I was like sitting in my chair watching Zoom, like jumping up and down, and because it's what so many of us see happening over and over again with these really bad professionals. And so coming together, sharing your experiences. I know, and I can't remember what chapter it was, where a couple of moms came together, had enough evidence against a family court professional that they were in cahoots with certain attorneys or, things like that, to where they took a stand and it had an impact. And that is what we all need to be doing. I would rather be strategic in advance. So here's a tip for so many of you who are new to this world. This is where it is critical to know who the players are in your local system. You will find that there's a handful of GALs that are recommended by the courts. There's a handful of custody evaluators that are recommended by your courtroom, your court system. If I knew that let's say there was a really horrible GAL who also practices, hi Dina, who also practices as an attorney in their day-to-day life. If that person had not yet been, that name had not come up in my case and it was safe for me to do this, I would go meet with that person in their law practice for a consultation. You pay their $300 or whatever it is, which I get it, it's a lot, but the potential outcome of having someone like that assigned to your case would be horrible for you and your kids. So for me personally, and I can't give you legal advice, but if I knew that there was a really crooked GAL, now knowing what I know, I wish I had all this knowledge back when I was in the trenches of the family court system, but I would go have a meeting, a consultation with that person under the guise of, I may want to hire you as an attorney, tell me all about the local system, tell me, your opinion, use those opportunities to get information about your system. What are their feelings about the judge? What is the, how does the judge feel about whether it's addiction issues or whatever is prevalent in your case? Just use the hour up and make it a worthwhile 1 hour where you download helpful information. But more importantly, you kick that person off your case so that when you are in court and that name comes up, you can say, oh, goodness me, there's a conflict. We can't use that person. I've already met with that person. it's much harder once you already have them assigned. And obviously, you don't want to run out and do this all over the place because it's going to become obvious what you're doing. But I've had attorneys tell me we can't ethically give our clients that advice, but it's really good advice and you can. So I try to share that whenever I can because you can do that with. Good morning, Sarah from Canada. I hope you're in our Canadian group up there. Andrea is, Angie is doing a great job of collecting information on your Canadian system, and we would love for you to join if you haven't already. Yeah. So, but if anybody has advice on what they've done to remove a GAL or another family court professional from their case after the fact, please feel free to chime in and share that information because that would be helpful for a lot of people. Good. Join us in Canada. We would love to have you. So the next question, what is the catalyst for the narcissist to stop using the children as supply and move on? Another really big question with so many different variables. You know, it's so easy for us to put the narcissist into one, under one umbrella and say, this is what they all do. This is what, you know, this is strategy for this person. But it, you know, that doesn't carry over to all narcissists. And that's where profiling, one of the things that I felt was really important, when I was, you know, teaching my coach training program was helping them to understand the importance of profiling the person you are up against. What is their baseline when things are just day to day? And, you know, I can look back at different points of my own marriage to the narcissist and go, you know, when everything was going his way, when business was good, when finances were in a really good place, when he was getting his feed supply from triathlons and being an entrepreneur, all of those things, he was actually not a horrible person to be around, you know, but whenever there was any source of stress or conflict, that's when he became a monster. And so really knowing the ins and outs of your particular narcissist, where they are on a day-to-day basis when everything's great. If you look at those periods of time, in my case, for example, he wanted nothing to do with the kids. His feed supply was being met in all of these other areas, and the day-to-day child rearing was monotonous and selfless and boring to him. And so he, left to his own, would have no part of it. And so that's what we find with quite a few of these people. Once the feed supply from the conflict with you, from the court, from all of that comes to an end, if and when that does. And I know there's going to be bumps and variances, but you know, there comes a point in time where they're getting feeds somewhere else, or you can withdraw yourself from the day-to-day conflict, choosing your battles so wisely, to where left to their own, they really don't want to parent. And that's where, you know, we do see these things start to mellow out, but depending again on the narcissist that you are dealing with. There are the really, the covert ones, the communal ones who get their feed supply from, doing good in the community and getting that recognition, or the very covert ones who are so worried about their reputation that they're not likely to do really stupid things. It really comes down to the exact person that you're up against, their triggers, their baggage. And so I encourage you, I call it a brain dump. Sit down and for 1 hour, take out a blank piece of paper, do different categories, their early childhood life, maybe they had a speech impediment and someone made fun of them, all through fifth grade. Those things can factor in ways that you may not see it, because you're looking at it through a different lens. But you want to look at it through a fresh set of eyes and going, what is important to them? Where is my leverage? How can I make it so that the kids are not the feed supply? And a lot of times that's trying to pull ourselves out of the conflict wherever we can. And sometimes that's giving up things that we may feel are really important to us. But if you're balancing it out and going, is it worth the conflict and the feed that this person is going to get from it? Maybe not. Every one of our situations are going to be different. So there's no perfect solution. Do this, and this, and they're going to lose interest in the kids. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's really, really a complex thing. And it's one that I really try to instill in my clients, to profile the person they're up against, because you'll get some answers that you maybe won't find online or in groups like this. I found most of the narcissistic people I meet have been adopted or raised by, that's interesting. I haven't made that connection. One of the things that I see with narcissist is a really enabling mom. That is you, or a really toxic mother. It's kind of a common denominator that seems to, a lot of times, like my ex-husband's family, his dad, raging narcissist, sociopath. He's passed. He can no longer hurt people. But then his mom, I believe, is the sickest of all of them, even with the levels of pathology with all of the kids and her ex-husband, because she was aware enough and maybe healthy enough at one point, or at least present enough to realize how deeply disturbed all of these humans in her family are. And she not only, made everything pretty, she was constantly hiding the dysfunction and brushing it under the rug. So she, in my opinion, is probably the most calculated out of the whole family. It's fascinating when you start looking at things through that lens of profiling, the way the FBI would profile a criminal, and really looking at the entire family structure and dynamics. It'll tell you a lot. Gigi says public image is a big one, having that 50-50 label of custody, which is different than actually parenting time or visitation, emotional neglect, overindulgence from parents. Absolutely. I think all of that works too. And it's one of the things that, this was in a conversation recently with Dr. Ramani about, one of the things I share with my clients is you have to remember that the person on the other side of that email or co-parenting app is emotionally stunted around the age of 5. That's just kind of a number that I've picked because it seems to be so prevalent, is you're dealing with a kindergartner. Emotionally, that is where they're stunted, wherever that trauma happened. And Dr. Ramani, I think, said it can be between the ages of like 3 and 6, I believe. I don't want to misquote her, but it's so true. That is what we're dealing with. And so when you see a toddler, a 3-year-old walking down the street, they have a lot in common with your narcissistic ex. Yes, Randy, his mom. I don't really like blanket statements where we say this is why they're all like this or whatnot. But the mom component, that common denominator, truly is a prevalent issue in almost every one of my clients. They all have, it's more than just the normal mother-in-law stories. It's sick and twisted and extreme. So, okay, and then the third and final question, how do I get involved in family court reform? Great question, because I'm moving that direction this year. And I personally am getting behind Jacqueline Franchetti. I have no intention of going out there and recreating the wheel. She is out there moving mountains, doing fantastic work. The Kira Franchetti Foundation and Kira's Champions. I believe so strongly in what she's doing. And, so get behind, the goal. Her goal is she has to get this passed in New York. Once it's passed, once Kira's Law is passed in New York, it's going to make it easier to pass it in all 50 states. So find people, the Center for Judicial Excellence is a great organization. There's a new organization, find them on Instagram. It's called Custody Peace, as in peace sign. And I love what she's doing. I love her ideas. And it's very much still in the infancy stage, but a couple of us are coming together and talking about, how we do this, how we look at things differently and tackle things. But for me personally, I'm getting behind Kira's Champions and what Jacqueline Franchetti is doing because, it's the first thing that's giving me hope for change in a very long time. And I know that Barry Goldstein is supporting her efforts and coming on board. There are some amazing moms out there who are living all of our worst nightmares. Anna Peaky's mom in Southern California, she's an amazing advocate for kids. Kathy, Caden's mom, Caden's Law in Pennsylvania. Those are some organizations that I am really standing behind. Also, Joan Meyer's work at the George Washington University. I have people, I just had somebody reach out this week and say, hey, financially, I want to help One Mom's Battle your efforts. I directed her to Joan Meyer because if somebody has money to donate, that's where I put my money every month. I am actually set up on reoccurring payments for the work Joan is doing because what we need is we need the research to show. That's one of Joan's papers research papers is what I'm sending in the new educational packets because I believe so strongly in what she's doing, and it truly is the missing link and component to protecting our kids in this system. So if you are financially in the position to donate to Joan Meyer and her work, I have the link. I'll share it on the One Mom's Battle Facebook page today. And it's where I put my money. So, and I'm going to be putting my efforts. Barry Goldstein is the... No, Joan doesn't do the ACE research. She does, I should know the name of it. She's debunking alienation or speaking out about it and showing how when a mom who alleges any type of abuse comes into the system, how she's treated in the system, the percentage of time she loses custody to the abuser, the alienation stuff comes into that. She was actually, for those of you who haven't watched Allen versus Farrow, actually, I never watched TV, but we signed up for HBO just for a quick period of time so I could watch that movie. Triggering beyond anything I've seen in a very long time. It's a 4-part series. Joan is actually interviewed as part of that, speaking out against alienation and this movement. But she's one of my absolute heroes. But Alan versus Pharaoh, I literally, on part 4, at part 3, I got to the point and I was like, their case is done. This is great. Go her. She, had a fantastic judge. Yeah, it's, she really lucked out in this system. And then so I was like, what's part 4 going to be about? I literally cried for an hour, like ugly cry, sobbing. It's just validation, triggers, all of the above. And I just got off that 4-part series. I don't know how that guy's allowed to exist in our society. He's an absolute pedophile. And it angers me for all of us who have brought forth allegations of sexual abuse, how we're treated in this system. So wrong. All right. Have a very, very great weekend, everybody. And love to all of you who join me every week. And yeah. Bye. Happy Friday.